All right, everybody, we are back again for season 2 of the Coach's Compass. Again, don't remember what episode it is because we just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. It's your boy, Coach Coop, reporting live from the U.S. of A. Coach Jay can't be with us tonight because he's just a busy guy. It's hard to keep connections with 7-hour time difference and all that other stuff. But it's okay. Just remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue to have this thing grow. Continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. We've got tonight Coach Erica. She's a speed and strength coach out of Tampa, Florida, and remote for female athletes. Hall of Famer recently at Johns Hopkins University, author and speaker, also running her own podcast herself. Coach Erica, thank you and welcome.
I am delighted to be here.
Yes. So, hey, obviously we've seen a lot of what you've got going on. Seeing on an online platform, working on podcasts, training athletes in person. What got you into this? What made you want to become a strength and conditioning speed coach?
I think it started really young for me. I mean, I have always been a very active person, and I started playing soccer when I was 6 years old, fell in love with it, but also tried other sports like track, lacrosse, gymnastics, a little bit of ballet. So I did a little bit of everything growing up, but in high school, I chose soccer as my primary sport, started to get more serious about it, started to do a lot of strength and speed training, got really passionate about getting in the gym very young, and it just stuck with me my whole life. I saw the benefits through the rest of my career. In college, I saw the speed and strength benefits on the field. I saw the confidence and mental benefits of strength training. And I got into strength and conditioning back in 2012 full time. I started to train athletes as a private coaching business, and I realized there was a need for young girl soccer players to really get in the gym because ACL injuries were starting to really increase during this time, and also a lot of overuse injuries that shouldn't be happening at those very young ages. So I just really wanted to provide a solution. And before doing strength and conditioning, I was doing some soccer skills training, but I left that behind because I realized I was part of the overuse early specialization problem. So that's when I went full time into strength and conditioning and working mainly with girl soccer players, but now I train all female athletes. So anywhere from soccer, lacrosse, field hockey. I've trained cheerleaders as well. They also need strength and conditioning. So it's been quite a journey, and I'm just very grateful to get to do what I do and just share the power of strength with female athletes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, personally, myself, I love working with the female athletes most of the time more than I do the male athletes because the female athletes just come on, they're ready to work. You know what I mean? There's no BS, no excuses. Like, whatever you tell them, like, they're going to go through it and then maybe ask you a little bit of questions afterwards. But other than that, like, if they're bought in, they're fully bought in. How hard was it, though, for you to kind of get out of I'm also telling parents to not like do this specialization stuff and the overuse and like strength and conditioning is so important to help them limit the risk of injuries because we can't I guess you can't ever say injury prevention because that's just sports. Injuries always happen. How hard was it to get the parents and those athletes to kind of buy into like switching from just doing like skill specific to now like, hey, we need an overarching thing to like we need to work on with the strength and conditioning?
I think early on it was pretty easy. So back in 2012, when I started all this, girls weren't as busy with year-round soccer. So when I started strength and conditioning, it was a lot easier to get girls in the gym and really explain the benefits. And I think the ACL problem was also scaring a lot of people, and parents just really want to keep their girl healthy. And also, speed is a big selling point for a lot of people. A lot of girls really want to improve speed, and just was able to communicate with them, here's how this type of training will improve those explosive efforts on the soccer field. So I think it also helps as well to show that translation to the from gym to field. Nowadays it is getting a little bit harder, and I think a lot of strength coaches would agree with me on this, that kids are busy now. So they're practicing 3 to 4 times a week, and then they'll say to the strength coach, well, how do we fit you in? And my question back to them is, well, aren't you going to need something to prepare your child for these crazier demands that are happening? So there has to be some sort of balance between that sports specific training and the strength training so that we're keeping their muscles strong and their joints healthy and durable to all these soccer practices and all these games and tournaments and showcases that they're going to. So I just really am up against a lot now, just trying to tell people that they need to fit this into the schedule. I used to be very set in my ways. Oh, you need to strength train 2 to 3 times a week to get any benefit. But if you have an athlete who's practicing 4 times a week, they might realistically be only able to come to you once a week and maybe do some extra work at home. So I at least tell people, hey, get in once a week, and then I'm going to give you some stuff to do at home so that you're not stressed about, the commute to the gym on top of everything else you're doing. So I'm just trying nowadays to really work around schedules and help people do what is doable for them because I don't ever want kids to be more overwhelmed. I think sometimes the mental stress goes a long way as well in burnout and in injury. I think nowadays I've had to have been a lot more flexible, but people do appreciate that.
Yeah. With kids being more busy now and the uptick in just travel soccer, showcases, even cheer competitions, field hockey, having all these different things. Have you seen a change in the athletes' bodies and like where they're having more injuries now, now that they're not able to come into the gym as much, or they're so busy with skill specific training and then still going to a showcase, playing so many games on the weekend and trying to repeat that over and over? Or are you also seeing an uptick in burnout for these young athletes? Like, is that another thing that you're running into too with all the stuff that you got going on?
Yeah, so what I'm actually finding is it's more with the young ones. So the young athletes who are right in the middle or on the cusp of that growth spurt. So for girls, anywhere from ages 9 to 13, sometimes 14 years old. And I'm finding a lot of really young girls are getting overuse injuries that shouldn't be happening chronically. So I'm talking about girls who have had heel pain or Sever's disease for a year plus and it hasn't resolved yet. Or I'm seeing girls who have had Osgood or knee pain for over a year and they haven't resolved it because the parent doesn't want to take them out of year-round sport because they think they're going to fall behind and they say, oh, well, she just loves playing. She loves going to practice. Maybe she does, but there comes a time when you have to be a parent and realize that there are seasons to deload and cut back from that primary sport and give some more variety and work other muscle groups. If an injury hasn't resolved in several months to a year, that's a major red flag that what you're doing is not working. So you need to have seasons of recovery and different activities, or you also have to start adding in some strength and stability training around these ages. Now, that doesn't mean we need to load these girls going through growth spurts with heavy weights right away, really working on stability and coordination and rhythm and just body awareness. So a lot of body weight movements that are maybe lower in impact during the soccer season, but just giving them that variety to work other muscle groups and not have these constant injuries. They should never be chronic. Yes, some knee pain during the growth spurt for a little bit, okay, but not for several months to a year. That it shouldn't be happening, and there's a lot of ways around.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's super important. Now, why did you only stick with female athletes? I mean, obviously nowadays you see a huge boom in female coaches coming into the industry, not only just working with female athletes, but also working with male athletes. Why did you just decide to only stick on the female side and not, train male athletes too? And how important is it to have, a female coach working with female athletes? Because I think that's another important thing too. Because I mean, I've got a 2-year-old daughter, so now I'm trying to learn everything I can to, about how to operate in the space of like working with a female. Not that I
Yeah.
don't know how to like train female athletes, but now it's my daughter. Potentially, hopefully, she wants to become an athlete. So I just want to know, like, as I go through this whole process, what got you? so passionate about that side.
Well, that's exciting for you that you're a girl dad. That is amazing and so rewarding. And I know my husband, if we end up having a girl, he's gonna hope she plays sports for sure.
Yes, that's a big hope for me. I'm like, man, please just do
Yeah.
something.
Hey, and if it's dance, whatever, because dance is really competitive. That is like a very respectable sport. I'm starting to
I just don't know if
understand.
I can go to all the cheer competitions. I'm sorry to all the cheerleaders out there. It's just the cheer
Oh, it's a
competition on the
commitment.
yeah,
Yep.
it's some long weekends.
So yeah, with female athletes, well, what a lot of people don't know about me is I actually used to train a lot of boys soccer teams, and I love working with boy athletes just as much as my girl athletes. And I think what was happening as I got through my coaching career was I was having more girls, especially around that growth spurt, start to come to me for training because there was just a need for someone who understood what was going on during that time and the storm that is female puberty. So I was just getting a lot of girl clients, and I'm also just really passionate about explaining to parents what their girls are going through physically, hormonally, and mentally, and why there needs to be age and maturity appropriate training for female athletes, and we must look at their athletic career in stages. And I'm a big fan of the long-term athletic development model, and I think I just got really passionate over the years to just really educate parents and educate young girls on what's going on and how to train and how to eat well. So it's just a passion thing for me, and I know there's a lot of misinformation out there as well on how young girls should be training, and they're either progressing too quickly or training with a coach who only works with professionals, who doesn't even specialize in youth or understand child development and maturity. So I'm just trying to educate and let people know that this is a process and we have to be very meticulous about the stages so our girls stay healthy and they end up getting an edge in the long run of their athletic career. I never want my young female athletes to peak at age 12. That is the worst thing you can do. You want them to peak in maybe senior of high school for some or in college, and you don't want them to burn out as a result either. So I'm just really passionate about what's appropriate for girls physically, mentally, and hormonally.
Yeah, I mean that's tough at times for parents to really understand that we don't want them peaking right now. Like, yeah, they might be a little bit behind like another athlete, but another athlete like genetics come into play, and they might just be a little bit further ahead. We want them peaking at the right time. And I know a lot of parents are kind of like, hey, I need to get them in do this more, do this more, so they're just like this athlete. And the comparison thing always kind of hurts athletes a lot, just from a parent standpoint. So parents, I guess you see it every day, every time you work with these athletes. Hey, parents, it's okay to slow down a little bit. Like your athlete has to go at their own pace. On top of that, you're balancing out doing online training, in-person training, and running your podcast. How is that going?
It's a blast. So I wake up every day and I am always excited to create content or just think about how can I help the community. The podcast for me has been probably one of the best things because I just love having people on the show who are masters of their craft in female athlete performance training and people who have dedicated their lives to working with female athletes, whether it's in the gym or in the research and academic space. And I just love sharing the right information and the right experts with my audience. So the podcast has been great. And then my in person training, I would say I'm about 70% in person, 30% remote. I didn't enter the remote space until think right before 2020. So I'm kind of got everything all set up before COVID hit, which was nice. But um, yeah, I still continue to do that, and I love remote training. I think it's just as much work as in person. I think that's a common misconception with a lot of strength coaches who want to go online, but it is a lot of work, and I will always get an in-person trainer if you can, but if you can't, then remote is a really good option for those athletes who are really busy and who practice 4 times a week and who don't want to commute 30 minutes to an hour to a performance facility and they just want to do the workout at home, then go to practice. So I think remote is kind of the future for a lot of these athletes because schedules are only going to get crazier and they don't want to make an extra drive or go to extra places. So remote's been really valuable in that sense, but I always love in-person connection too, and I'll always keep that a part of what I do. And I work with soccer players in Tampa, Florida right now, and I have my own home gym, so I don't really need to go anywhere myself, which is kind of nice. I used to work at big performance facilities and it was fun for a while in my 20s, but now I'm just like, I'm good staying home.
What's the point? Like you said, you started your own remote thing before COVID. So during that COVID time, everybody kind of bought at home equipment, right? To set up their own home gyms. So now you kind of got your own luxury of just waking up, go down to your own gym, do what you need to do. And you're also in a beautiful state, right? You're in Tampa. It doesn't really ever get that cold, right? We all know that Florida isn't really cold at all. What has kind of been the overarching or the best lesson you've learned from any of the coaches that you've had on your podcast?
There's so many. I mean, selfishly, I also do the podcast because it's continuing education for me.
I'm right there with you. That's why I do it too.
Yeah, yeah. I love going to conferences, but sometimes the expenses are crazy. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have some people on here and learn. Yeah, I've had some really great guests. I think a lot of them have hammered home some consistent themes just from a professional standpoint that I really appreciate. And it's just never stop learning. And I think something like strength and conditioning and sports science, it's always changing. And as coaches, we're going to have to continue to adjust maybe our programming or our philosophy a little bit over the years or how we serve our athletes or become flexible to their schedule. So I've had to really continue to learn and be open to change. And I look back at when I was in even my first few years, there's so many things that I've just stopped doing that I don't do anymore. And you look back and you're like, wow, it's crazy. But new things come out and you just continue to learn. And I think you have to really continue to be open and you can't ever think you know it all. I think the further I get into this, I actually know less because there's just so much information out there and research, and I'm just trying to do the best I can.
Do you ever run into the wall of imposter syndrome? Like, do you actually ever feel like, hey, what I'm doing, is it correct? Or what I just did with an athlete, like the session I just put into, like, man, was that the right, like, should I have done all those drills together? Like, was that the right thing to do for them? Like, do you ever get that feeling, like being in industry? And then you also see other people online, like you'll see like some stuff that they post, you're like, shoot, like, why isn't my athlete there yet? Do you ever get that feeling of like we talk about even with comparison with other, parents do with other athletes, comparing their athlete to them? Do you get that feeling?
Yeah, sometimes. I think imposter syndrome can be a little bit of a good thing because you question your own methods and how you can better improve and serve your athletes and get them faster results or even better results. One guest I did have on recently, and we were just talking about this guy, Sam Portland. He actually made me question a little bit what I was doing with speed. So I'm a big fan of Tony Holler and Feed the Cats, and I believe in it, and I agree with the concepts, especially for soccer players who are not getting that top end speed work of a 40-yard to 50-yard sprint. Yes, we want them to get that exposure. But if we have an athlete who's been with us for a while, eventually we need to move them into that more, I guess, specific type of speed training that Sam's talking about and make it positional and ask them why they want to improve speed. And a lot of them might say, oh, well, I want to turn off a defender faster and go to goal quick, or I want to turn and get back on defense. And it made me think, okay, maybe I should start incorporating more of that specific work for those athletes who have had a really long time. But it was a very interesting conversation. And it doesn't mean I'm going to completely revamp everything I'm doing,
Right.
but it made me think, okay, yeah, I can maybe incorporate some tweaks with Sam's concepts, but still have a little bit of the Tony Holler in there. I think when you go full one way, like you're a full Feed the Cats person or you're a full Charles Poliquin, that's not good. Like there's a middle ground and you can kind of mesh these philosophies together, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Because I mean, it's hard because you see a lot of these guys that, I mean, you look at Derek Hansen, you look at Les Spellman, you look at Sam, you look at Tony Holler, and then you got Joey down in FAU. Like, you look at all these guys, right? And everyone kind of has like their own different ways. So you're like, okay, which one do I follow? But at the end of the day, like, they also started from looking at somebody else, but piecing it together and making it their own way into how they're teaching. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in now being in this section of working with speed. Is like, hey, not everything they do is going to work for me. The cues that they use aren't the same as the cues that I'm going to use. But I can learn from it. And how can I implement it in what I'm doing? Now, we had a question from one of our last guests that they wanted us to ask you. What's something in the past 6 months or year you've done wrong and it's helped you change because of it? And that can be either coaching, programming, podcasting, or life.
I would need more to prepare for this one because there's probably a lot of things I've done wrong.
Okay, we can say in the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. I think so right now I'm working with a girl who she had a 9-month ACL return to play, which is pretty soon. So I got her right after she was released to play and practice with their team and playing games. And I think one thing I could have done initially better is communicate with her coach about her playing time, because she is going a little bit too many minutes for where she's at. So there's kind of a load management issue there, but we're resolving it right now. So that was one thing I wish I had done a little bit sooner. I think with any return to play athlete, it can get really sketchy very quick. So that's one thing in the past few weeks that I can think of.
For sure. On top of that, what is something you'd want us to ask our next guest?
These questions are like actually really hard. There's so many you can ask. What is a big goal you have for yourself as a strength coach?
What do you have? What is your big goal?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I've been getting a lot more into speaking and just getting the word out to female athletes and talking to them about training and proper nutrition and recovery and just overall health, not just for sport performance. So my goal is to speak to more female athlete teams and get into high schools and just really spread the message more.
100%. Coach, thank you so much for being here with us today. Hall of Famer just recently, Coach Erica, again, working on speed and strength out of Tampa. She's also doing it remotely. If you guys have a chance to check her out, please check out her work. Obviously, I saw it through what she was doing with Sam, and went and checked out her page, saw everything that she was doing, checked out some of her podcasts, and love all the work you're doing. Would love to, eventually down the line, maybe bring you into D1 and speak to some of our female athletes, because I know how important it is to have a strong female in the space that you're in, speaking to other females in that industry, and also just being a male, being that girl dad. Would love to learn more about how to handle this whole, puberty thing that you talked about earlier. Yeah. So, super excited for you, Coach, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.